The brass handles on the VFW hall doors were warm from late afternoon sun. Inside, the air held lemon polish and the hum of an old soda cooler. A jukebox in the corner blinked its colored lights, whispering a soft 70s ballad through one stubborn speaker. I smoothed the skirt of my navy dress and took one steady breath. "Before I begin," I said to you, my listener now, "if stories of justice and second chances speak to you, tap like and subscribe. Now, let me take you back to the hall where it started." The banner read, "Service Appreciation Night," letters slightly crooked, the way our town always was. Good-hearted, imperfect. Folding chairs scraped, boots tapped, coffee steamed in thick diner mugs. The moment I crossed the threshold, heads stirred like wheat. "Ruby," murmured Mr. Cooper, the retired mailman. "Is that you?" He smelled faintly of pipe tobacco and wintergreen mints. I nodded, and his eyebrows climbed with a gentleness I hadn't earned back then, but had missed for 20 years. Near the front table stood my mother, Linda, sharply tailored, pearls bright. Beside my father, Charles, stiff and hollow-cheeked in his blazer. Between them, Aunt Denise lifted a clipboard, whispering. Their posture tightened in the same old rhythm: appraisal, verdict, sentence. I could feel it in my shoulders, the way a healed bone still aches when weather turns. I didn't come for them. I came for the town. Still, past and present like to collide where floors creak and voices carry. Frank, the MC, tapped the mic. "Tonight, we thank those who kept the lights on at this hall. We have a surprise donor, someone who knows this place." His eyes flicked toward me, unreadable. The jukebox nudged a chorus. Tinny, sweet. Mother's mouth thinned. "You shouldn't be here," she said when I came closer. 7 words or less, same blade, duller edge. "I'm on the list," I replied. "Ruby Martin." Father's gaze skipped over me, landed at the donation box, then the dessert table, then the ceiling water stain that never went away. "We have standards," he said softly, a phrase that once meant door closed. He didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. Aunt Denise touched Mother's sleeve. "We can move her. To the back." My palms felt the slip of the program. Cheap paper, fresh ink. "I paid for a table," I said, steady, "and for the coffee." Marge from the Legion winked and slid a mug into my hand. The heat kissed my knuckles. I was 17 again, and also 47. And this time I wasn't shaking. A hush edged outward like a tide when Susan from the Women's Auxiliary whispered, "Is that the girl?" A few faces turned, curious as crows. In that moment I heard, across 20 years, the night I stood pregnant and sobbing on our porch. The porch light buzzed. The wood smelled like wet leaves. At 17, my family cast me out. The memory captioned itself. Called me a shame, a mistake. I stood alone, pregnant and crying. The door latched then, final and neat. Tonight, the doors to the hall were open, but Mother's eyes were not. "Frank," she called, "sugar on steel. There's been a mix-up." Frank's smile faltered. The mic hissed. "Folks, we'll start with roll call for honorees, then a brief recognition for a special contribution." I felt the polished edge of a blue leather folder under my arm, the kind lawyers like, neat corners, gold tooling. It was heavier than paper, lighter than regret. I didn't plan a scene. I planned a thank you. "Ruby," Mother said, voice low. "Don't embarrass us." I met her gaze. "Not my goal." Father folded his program exactly in half. "It usually is." In the third row, Mr. Cooper coughed softly, the old mailman's apology for tension he didn't cause. A teen volunteer bumped the dessert table. Spoons chimed. The jukebox caught itself between tracks and gave a faint, electronic sigh. Frank cleared his throat. "Let's welcome—" "Wait," Mother said, stepping forward. "She doesn't belong." The room took that breath small towns take when the gossip's about to be served. I lifted my chin. I belong, I said, right where I'm standing. The hall lights buzzed. A coffee machine gurgled. The blue folder's edge pressed a half moon into my palm. Ruby, Frank said, eyes gentle. Would you like a seat? I'd like the mic, I answered. Mother's jaw flexed. Mistake, she whispered. One word, the old brand seared again. I wrapped my fingers tighter around the folder and stepped toward the stage as the jukebox clicked into a familiar guitar intro. The hall listened, and I thought, if I open this, I can't go back. The summer I turned 17, the cicadas sang like power lines. The porch boards were warm even after sunset. I remember pressing my back to the door, the brass knob cold against my hip. I remember Mother's perfume, powder and lilac, rushing past me as she reached for the chain. Who is the father? She asked. Quiet. Final, I stuttered. He's gone. Father stared at the porch light as if bulbs could judge. We raised you better, he said. I'm still me, I whispered. You're a disgrace, Mother replied. 4 words, bitten clean. That was insult 1. It fit her teeth. I was trembling so hard the screen rattled. Please, I said. Please, I'll finish school. Father didn't shout. He measured distance. We can't fix this, he murmured, and swung the door until the hinge sighed and the latch caught. Behind the wood, I heard a glass set down, carefully, so it wouldn't clink. The rain started 10 minutes later, slow and steady. I held my belly and promised a child I hadn't met that I would learn to be steel without cutting anyone. I slept that night at the bus station. It smelled of diesel and old newspapers. A woman with a tired sweater changed the channel on the TV. A boy with freckles was selling candy for his church, and I learned the price of mercy was $3 for a caramel bar I couldn't afford. He left it anyway. Next morning, I called the only person who'd once said, "If you're ever in trouble, call me." My home ec teacher, Mrs. Betts. She picked up on the second ring. "Ruby?" she asked, like a landing is possible if someone says your name soft enough. Mrs. Betts helped me find a room above the diner. The rent was the price of washing dishes and serving coffee at dawn. The owner, Walter, a veteran with a limp and a grin, taught me how to keep the grill clean and my hands steady. "People don't come for perfect," he said, sliding a mug in front of me. "They come to be remembered." The jukebox in the diner wheezed through 60s and 70s classics. The counter stools were red vinyl with a little tear on the second from the end. The bell on the door jingled like a small apology when regulars arrived late. I finished high school by correspondence, one essay at a time, Belly leading me home at night. When my daughter Ivy came, Walter wrapped her in a clean bar towel and said, "Welcome to the big show, kid." He kept a photo behind the till. Me, bleary, grinning. Ivy furious at light. The bar towel too big. Money was tight, then tighter. So I learned other shifts. Bookkeeping after close, calling vendors, balancing ledgers. Numbers settled like birds on a wire when I gave them places to sit. Walter noticed. "You've got a head for this," he said, "and a spine." By the time Ivy toddled between the stools, I could read an invoice like a map. I enrolled in night classes. The bus smelled of rubber and raincoats. I kept flashcards in my pocket. Assets, liabilities, equity. At the diner, veterans from the Legion would tap their mugs and say, "Ruby, you're gonna run this town one day." I laughed, but I kept the idea like a penny in my shoe. Ivy grew. Mother and Father did not come. I mailed a photo at Christmas, no note. It came back stamped, "Return to sender." I pressed the envelope flat beneath a cookbook and kept it there for years, a paperweight of what-ifs. When Walter's knees gave out, I kept the books. When the pipes knocked, I learned to listen. When the county made a mistake on his tax bill, I dug through the code like a miner and found the fix. The inspector said, grudging respect in his tone, "Someone taught you well." I smiled. Necessity did. A banker named Harold came in on Tuesdays for a BLT no tomato. He watched me balance the register with a pencil and a mind that ran a step ahead. One afternoon he left a business card and a question. "Ever considered accounting?" Real accounting? I had, in the fragile way you consider wearing a dress you can't afford. He said, "There's a scholarship through the Legion. Quiet thing, not many apply." You should, I did. The application asked for resilience in 250 words. I wrote about the bar towel and the bus and the smell of diesel. I wrote about keeping a ledger straight when everything else curves. The scholarship covered the first year. After that, it was nights, weekends, and a baby who learned to sleep to the rhythm of a calculator tape. I graduated tired and proud. Harold hired me into risk analysis. I learned to see patterns people miss when they only glance. By 30, I started a small firm in a room with a view of the river and the tire swing someone never took down. We helped family businesses find their footing. At 35, I launched a fund. Slow, careful, honest. We invested in people who kept promises. Welders, roofers, bakers, one extraordinary mechanic who could listen to an engine and name its grief. The town's VFW roof leaked every spring. The bake sale couldn't keep up. I kept the blue leather folder near my desk and filled it with one dream. A foundation that would ensure places like the hall did not beg for a bucket under the drip. 20 years later, on Service Appreciation Night, I walked through those warm brass doors. The folder rested in my arm like a small oath. Frank tapped the mic. Mother's pearls flashed. Father folded a program in half. "Ruby," he said, "not unkind, not kind. Don't start something." I touched the folder's corner. "I came to finish something." "Which is?" Mother asked. I looked at the flag over the stage, the scuffed floor, the coffee on the warmer, and felt the memory of rain on the bus station awning slide off my shoulders. "You'll see," I said. And with the town watching, I stepped toward the mic, back in the present, the jukebox catching the first note of a song that knew my name. Frank's hand hovered near the volume knob. "We are honored to," Mother's voice threaded through, smooth. "There's been a misunderstanding," she announced to the whole room. "We cannot endorse questionable choices." The words hit like a winter draft under the door. People shifted. A spoon clinked against china. The soda cooler's compressor kicked on, a low, stubborn growl. I heard Ivy, taller than me now, draw a tight breath at the back. She'd wanted to stay by the door, see me handle this without needing rescue. I kept my face still. "Frank," I said, "may I?" He hesitated, eyes flicking to Mother, then to me, then to the flag. 2 minutes, he said quietly, and handed me the mic. I cupped it lightly, learned long ago that a death grip turns sound harsh. "Thank you," I said, voice steady. "I grew up 3 blocks from here. I bussed tables at Walter's Diner. I mailed letters from Mr. Cooper's window and bought a BLT no tomato for someone who didn't like change." A few chuckled. Harold lifted his cup with a smile. Mother's lips did that thing where kindness has to find a way around them. "Frank," she tried again. I continued, keeping the beats short, words deliberate. "At 17, when I needed home most, I lost it. I won't relitigate old rain." My eyes found Father. "I will tell you what this town gave me instead. A bar towel, a scholarship, and a reason to stay brave." Denise, at the clipboard, leaned toward Mother. "Let it pass," she whispered, too late for a tide that had already turned its shoulder. From the back, someone muttered, "She was a kid." Another voice, "She worked." I remember, the room was not silent, not our cliché. It was breathing, adjusting, recalling. Mother set her jaw. "People like tidy endings," she said to no one and everyone. "This isn't one," I nodded. "You're right," I said. "It's not tidy. It's accounting." A few laughs. Debits, credits, what we owe, what we are owed. Father's eyes, once like flint, looked tired. "Ruby, and gratitude," I added. "So tonight I'd like to balance a ledger." A murmur rolled, soft as the jukebox chorus. Frank lowered the mic a notch, the room leaning forward like wheat in a friendly wind. Mother took a step closer, pearls catching the light like little warnings. "This is grandstanding." My heart beat once, twice, slow enough to count. "No," I said calm. "This is thanks." Then, because there is always someone who likes to poke old bruises to see if they still hurt, a second insult slipped out, clipped and small. "Shame," she breathed, just for me. 2 out of 2. The night had reached the cap. I glanced at Ivy. She gave me a nod that held 20 years of middle-of-the-night courage. In the third row, Mr. Cooper folded his hands like prayer and memory combined. Susan dabbed her eye, then pretended she was fixing mascara. "Folks," Frank tried again. "Let her talk," Harold said, not loud, "but precisely where volume counts." I took the folder from beneath my arm. The leather was warm, sweaty palm, nerves I wouldn't show. The gold tooling winked. I set it on the podium and flipped the clasp. Inside lay the documents I had assembled meticulously, the articles of incorporation for the Ivy and Walter Community Trust, a banker's draft, and the endowment agreement earmarked for 3 things: the VFW roof, the Legion Hall utilities, and an annual scholarship for students who keep promises when it's hard. The papers did not fly. The room did not go silent. The jukebox kept humming, because in real life music doesn't cut out when truth walks in. But the air changed, practical, attentive, respectful, the way people look at a blueprint that could fix the leak over their heads. I closed the folder again without showing the insides. Timing is everything. I came to recognize those who carried me when I had no last name anyone wanted to say out loud. I said, "I came to thank this hall by keeping it lit." Mother's nostrils flared. Father stared at the folder like it might move. Aunt Denise's clipboard drooped an inch. I held the mic a little closer. "There's one condition," I added, letting the words find their weight. "I need to say it at the same time the trust is announced." "What condition?" Mother snapped. The room heard that word's teeth. "Just one," I said softly. "And it's gracious." I looked at the flag, then at the veterans with caps that said Korea, Vietnam, Gulf. "That we honor the people who keep this hall alive. No one gets called names at the door." A beat, small, human, ran across the chairs. Father spoke at last, voice rough. "What is in that folder?" I touched the clasp. The jukebox found a bridge, a guitar leaning hard into a note and believing it would hold. "Something that changes roofs," I said. "Ruby," Frank whispered, mic away. "Are you ready to—" "Yes," I said, and opened the folder fully so he could see while the crowd could only feel the shift coming. His eyebrows flicked up, then steadied. He looked at me with the warm fear of someone about to deliver joy and consequences at once. I rested my hand on the blue leather. Frank returned to the mic, voice gentled by surprise. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "tonight we acknowledge a gift that safeguards this hall for years." He glanced at me, seeking permission. I gave a small nod, the kind we use when the math is done and we're ready to show our work. Mother stiffened. "What gift?" He lifted the top document just high enough to read, not high enough for spectacle. "The Ivy and Walter Community Trust," he said. "An endowment for the VFW roof and operations, for the Legion Hall utilities, and for an annual scholarship. Established by Ruby Martin." The room didn't gasp in unison. It breathed in layers. Boots scuffed. Cups bumped saucers. A veteran coughed, then laughed low in his throat like sunlight through blinds. Someone near the back whispered, "That's Walter's name." Someone else. Ivy. Her girl. A hand clapped once, then stopped, then found courage and clapped again. The sound gathered, unsteady at first, then solid as a marching line that finds its beat. Mother's face drained, color sliding away like tide pulling lace from sand. Father's hand opened and closed on the folded program, edges softening. Aunt Denise's clipboard slipped until her ring caught the clip. I kept the mic at my chin. "This town," I said, "gave me coffee and chances and the dignity of work. We kept the accounts straight. Now I'd like to keep the lights on." 20 years later?" Susan asked, standing a little, voice shaking with kindness. "You came back with fortune?" There it was, the thumbnail beat made flesh, curious, not gaudy. I smiled. "I came back with gratitude that happens to write checks." Harold, in his Tuesday tie, looked as if a private joke he'd been hoping for finally landed. "Smart structure," he murmured to Frank. "The earnings cover costs. Capital's protected." From the side aisle, a teen volunteer, maybe 16, summer freckles, whispered, "Is that millions?" His friend elbowed him. "Numbers make teenagers brave." I liked that. I did not say the number. I said what mattered. "It's enough to stop bake sales from panicking every time a shingle lifts." I replied. It's enough for a scholarship to surprise a kid who needs one. Mother recovered a pinch of poise and attempted a smile that had too many pins in it. Well, she said, we would be happy to oversee. No, I answered gently. You'll be welcome to attend ceremonies. The trust is managed by the bank and the board I appointed. Marge from the Legion, Mr. Cooper, Harold, and Sergeant Blake. Heads turned to the veteran with the careful posture and the cap that said Vietnam. He blinked hard and gave a single nod. Salutes belong to other rooms. Mother's voice thinned. You can't cut us out. No one is cut out, I said. We're welcoming people in. I let the words sit like warm bread. Father swallowed. Ruby, we were afraid. He stared at the flag, as if there were an answer sewn into the stars. We made a mistake. The second insult had already spent its ticket. Now came consequence. I made a life, I replied. The room heard it. Wasn't cruelty, wasn't parade, just accounting. Frank, emboldened, said into the mic, There is one condition the donor has requested. He looked at me again. I nodded. That no one at the door is called names. Not when they come for help, not ever. A rustle of assent moved like wind through prairie grass. Mr. Cooper, whose hands remembered every envelope in town, spoke up. Seems fair, he said. Seems overdue. Mother's color did not return. The pearls shone too bright. We only wanted the best, she whispered, voice small in a way I had not heard since childhood. Then take it, I said. Take the roof without fear. From the back, Ivy stepped forward, chin up, eyes the same blue as September. She had my grandmother's cheekbones and Walter's grin. I'm Ivy, she said softly to the row where my parents stood. I came to thank you for raising a town that raised my mother. Mother's knees seemed to consider the idea of giving out. Father reached for the chair behind him and missed, then adjusted. The program finally split at its fold. Frank beamed. Folks, I think we know what to say. Applause rose like the jukebox finally found a clean speaker and the chorus it had chased for years. It wasn't thunder. It was the sound of chairs, hands, breath, relief, the sound of respect doing math and getting the same answer twice. I closed the blue folder and held it to my chest. The leather smelled faintly of new book and old promises. Mother lifted her eyes to mine, desperate in a way that felt both familiar and wrong. Ruby, she said, can we talk about the trust? About us? Father cleared his throat, tried for steady. Maybe we could help. Guide the scholarships? We have ideas. We could meet, soon. I felt the weight of 20 winters settle and lift. We'll see, I said, not cruel, not warm. First, the roof. And I stepped away from the podium, as the applause gathered itself into something that felt like a town standing up. The line formed. Veterans to shake my hand. Marge to offer pie, Harold to talk governance that could outlive all our egos. The soda cooler hummed. The coffee smelled like 1,000 mornings. The flag hung steady. No draft tonight. Mr. Cooper held both my hands. Your mama made mistakes, he said, gentle as stamps. So did we. His eyes brimmed and did not spill. We see you now. Thank you, I whispered. His palms were papery and strong. Male roots do that. Sergeant Blake took my hand in both of his and didn't squeeze, because good men learn the weight of story. That trust, he said. That's a salute in plain clothes. Thank you for your service, I answered. Words I meant and have meant all my life. Ivy slipped to my side, shoulder to shoulder. You did it, she breathed. We did it, I said. You and me in a bar towel. She laughed, covering her mouth the way my grandmother used to. Grandpa Walter would have eaten 2 pies tonight. 3, Marge corrected, appearing with plates. And he'd have asked for coffee that could stand a spoon. We brewed it strong for him. The scent rose, dark, kind, carrying jukebox echoes of a time when songs believed in bridges and endings. Mother approached, pearls still, eyes uncertain. Father hovered, tall and undone. Up close, I saw the softening that time brings, the fragility that pride hides. She spoke first, small as a postcard. Ruby, we were wrong. I waited. A discipline learned from ledgers and late nights. Silence can be kind when it lets people finish. We wanted you to be safe, she said. We thought shame would scare you straight. It only cut you loose. Father cleared his throat. I should have opened the door, he said. I should have said your name like it was worth saying. You can say it now, I replied, but not to take anything. To give it, Mother blinked. We thought there were millions, she admitted, the thumbnail line arriving in plain clothes. We thought maybe we could help place the funds. Harold, who had drifted close with a banker's uncanny radar, answered softly before I had to. The board is set, he said. You're welcome at ceremonies. You're not trustees, Mother swallowed, color returning in shy degrees. We understand, she said. We'll be there, Father added, and I believed him. Not because of apology, but because roofs leak on everyone. A child darted past, sticky with pie. The jukebox found a Motown groove and let it swing. In the corner, two old friends argued about whether that song belonged to 69 or 70. A breeze came in from the door and carried a hint of gasoline from the lot. Clean as memory, ordinary as the work of going home. Susan from the auxiliary squeezed my arm. You've got the voice to speak, honey, she said, but the grace not to shout. That's rarer than money. I thought of the porch, the latch, the bus station with its humming vending machine, and the way diesel blooms in cold air. I thought of Ivy sleeping on calculus notes, and the way Walter measured pancake batter like Faith. I thought of the diner's red stools and the second from the end with a little tear. I thought of the blue folder and how it felt like a book you carry across a long field and finally set down where people need it. Mother and Father stood small in a room they used to rule with nods. Pride makes people tall until it doesn't. They looked pale again. Not sick, not punished, just human with math finally done. Ruby, Mother said carefully, may we come by the diner sometime? We could have coffee. No talk of conditions. Coffee's strong, I said. We serve it to people who work things out. I wasn't promising. I wasn't refusing. I was leaving a door open that had been closed for half my life. Ivy touched my wrist. Time? She asked. Time, I answered. We walked toward the exit together. Boots scuffed. Chairs scraped. The hall smelled like lemon polish and old wood and something new that didn't have a name yet. People nodded. People smiled. No one said shame at the door. On the threshold, I looked back once. Father had picked up a broom. Mother was stacking plates. Denise was laughing at something Marge said, free and unarmed. The veterans were arguing lovingly about whether the trust could fund better coffee filters, and someone said, not if it ruins the flavor. Outside, the lot was gravel, and the evening was 1 degree softer than it had been an hour ago. Crickets started their exacting choir. A pickup backfired politely 2 blocks over. I could smell cut grass and the faint sweetness of someone's dryer sheet. Ivy laced her fingers with mine. What now? She asked. I glanced at the hall, lights warm behind us, and at the blue folder under my arm. A little lighter now that everyone knew its truth. Now we go home, I said. And tomorrow we pick the first scholarship essay. Ivy grinned. Debits and credits, she teased. Honor and inheritance, I corrected gently. The kind that doesn't end. We crossed the lot without hurry, and for once, there was no door to slam, no name to swallow, no old noise to drown out. Just the quiet that comes when ledgers settle and people decide to do better.